In this video, we're looking at how we do our first dance. How we normally do our first dance is a 2-flash setup. So we're going to be talking you through how we do that. So we use 1 flash on the camera bouncing to the ceiling and 1 behind the couple, as you can see in this photo.
So that means that the second flash is basically giving it some separation from the background and giving it some pop.
What we do first is we actually talk to our couple and we find out how long they're dancing for, because if their plan is to dance for 10 seconds before bringing people onto the dance floor, we might not bother with all the backlit flash palaver and we'll just do bounce flash because the first dance isn't a big deal to them. However, if they've got a whole thing planned or they're going to be dancing throughout the whole song, then we will bother doing it. Also look at things like the size of the room, how many guests there are, because that will help you decide whether to use a table, whether to use a person to hold your other flash, whether to even use a second flash at all. So if you've got a massive room and the flash would be really, really far away, it might not work as well. Or if it's a tiny, tiny room and everyone's crammed in, it might be too close to them. So you want a nice sort of medium-sized room for this sort of thing.
Okay, so settings. So we'll set the flash up depending on the ambient and the distance from the couple. So we'll probably start around 1/32nd. 30/2.
1/32. I don't know.
32 power. Just because that's kind of a medium point. So obviously you've got your 1/1, which is top power, and 1/128, which is the least power. So pick something in the middle, basically, as your starting point, and then you can go up and down from there.
Yeah, you're going to want to play around with it. It depends on the ambient in the room and things like that, and also how far away you are from your couple, how far away your other flash will be from the couple, things like that. The on-camera flash would do the same, so we'll put it on the medium setting, so 1/32, and we'll play with it from there. But we always start with our flash on 1/32 because it's sort of in the middle. If you've got a really bright room, you'll want it a bit darker. If you've got a really, really dark room, you might want it a bit brighter, a bit stronger. Also, without going into like the actual details of each individual flash, because we use a Godox, the one you can see in this picture here. Everyone's going to have a different flash, so they'll work differently. So without going into like how to set up each one, with the Godox that we use, we can control the off-camera flash from the on-camera flash using that menu you can see in that picture there. So a lot of flashes will allow you to do that. Maybe a lot of triggers will allow you to do that too. So do read the manual and learn how you can do that, because it's really, really, really handy mid-dance. If something happens that you didn't expect and you need to change the power of the other flash that's on the other side of the dance floor to you, then it's really handy to be able to do it from the flash that's on the camera. So do have a look at how you can do that.
Yeah, and if you don't have that capability with your flash at the moment, I would definitely recommend making that one of your purchases soon.
Yeah, we love this 685 flash. It's a big flash. There are smaller versions too, but we love it because it does easily allow us to control several other flashes, and it allows us to be creative and work in the moment as well. So what we do, we set our cameras to just below ambient in exposure, and we set the flashes to roughly 1/32, and then we practice on a guest. So this guy here, these are actual photos, are test shots from a wedding. And I was practicing on a band member who was doing a sound check in the dance floor room. And so I just put my flash on a table and I had the band behind me, and he was standing in the right position. So I used him. And I looked at, does it rim light him nicely when he's covering the flash? Is it too overexposed when he's to the side of the flash? And I worked out my settings using him.
And that's a really good plan because it just allows you to problem solve beforehand and take some of the pressure off what is already a pressured moment if it's the first dance.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it doesn't have to be the band member. It can be a random guest. You can, if they're standing in the middle of the dance floor, you can use them without them knowing, or you can ask somebody, can you please stand here a minute while I test my settings, or anything like that. Just get anybody to stand there. Oh.
He literally did that into the mic.
He did. So where to put your flash? We love giving it to somebody, or you can put it on a table, you can put it on a windowsill, you can attach one of those GorillaPod tripods that have like the legs that you can wrap around a pillar and stuff like that. So anywhere really. We love giving it to a guest because it means we are more flexible with where we have it. But what happens if you put it on a table and someone gets in the way? we literally will run around the dance floor and say to them, can you please move out the way? Or we'll grab the flash and we'll actually give it to someone who's in the position, where we wanted it mid-dance. 3 minutes of a song, it's actually quite a long time, so you can fix things. You can just ask people to move or anything like that. Or if you really haven't got time to move the flash, or you don't want to move, just use the on-camera flash and forget about the backlit flash. It's just a bonus to have the backlit. You can use your on-camera flash just fine as well.
So yeah, top tip is to use a human as a light stand. And just find someone that looks not too drunk and give the flash to them so that they can move around with you.
Exactly. I mean, either they move around with you or they just stay in the spot. If they are into photography and really into what you're doing, then they might be like, oh, do you want me to follow you around? And if so, tell them, yeah, go for it. Like, some people love doing that. But as Todd just said, don't give it to a drunk guest. As you can see in this photo here, I stupidly gave it to a drunk guest and she tucked it under her arm and just lit up her face the whole time, which wasn't very useful. So I think I ended up I turned around to her in the end and stood where she was so that it was just basically bounce flash on the couple, and it worked fine. But yeah, don't give it to a drunk guest.
Yeah, so if you're going to do that, make sure you explain it to them before the music goes up so that they can actually hear you and they know what to do.
Yeah, I have had that problem where the music starts and I'm trying to explain what to do and they're like, I can't hear you. And I'm like, oh no, the first dance is starting, just point it. And a lot of the time, the person you're giving it to doesn't know it's a flash. They think it's a camera. So you have to say to them, this is a flash. I know it sounds really obvious to us, but they don't know that. So you have to say, this is a flash, point it at the couple, don't move, don't let anyone in front of you. And often people love that job. Pick a guest to give it to you based on where they're standing. So you've got your setup, you know exactly where you want to stand, where you want the couple to be and where the guests are. So pick a person sort of in the middle. Or you can pick someone before they've even entered the room and say, look, you look like you're responsible and not drunk. How about, do you want to do a job for me? Hold this flash for me during first dance. And they're like, yeah, great. Tell me what to do. And I'm like, okay, when you go in, just stand in the middle so that the couple is literally between me and you and just point it at them. And then that's their job done. And that's probably the easiest way of doing it. Here is another example of where I gave it to a drunk guest. It was very silly of me. The first photo, you can see the girl in the pink dress. She's the one I gave it to. And she did an okay job to begin with. But then she started dancing. So as you can see here, she's pointing it in all different directions. So she's pointing it upwards, she's pointing it at the floor, she's pointing it into the crowd, at her own face when she started dancing. And it didn't make for good pictures. That was my fault. I gave it to someone drunk. That was silly. I panicked on the way in. I said, quick, hold this. What I actually did during this first dance is run around the dance floor, say to her, I grabbed her hand, I grabbed the flash and I said, hold it like this. And then I ran back round again. You've got to say these things like with a smile and with some humor. And also the dance is happening at that moment. So you've got to be quick about it. But yeah, people don't mind. They're like, oh no, oh, sorry. And they carry on. So yeah, just don't give it to a drunk guest and explain yourself beforehand.
When you're deciding on your position for this, make sure the guests are in the background. So you don't want the band in the background. You want everyone's friends and family looking on. And then guide the guests on where to stand. So try and get everybody in a nice neat line or in a semicircle so that the photos look pleasing, like the one right here.
Exactly. And then you've got your pick of guests to choose from to give the flash to as well. Also get creative. So try different distances, get up close, get further away. Try doing things like having the flash behind them visible, as you can see in the top right here, and having the flash hidden by the couple as well, so it just rim lights them because it's such a different look. So do play around while you are shooting the first dance. And the bonus of all of this is that it's all exactly the same for the backlit rain photos. So you get that flash behind them, you get someone to hold it, and you generally have the flash not shooting through them, so it's rim lighting them and it lights up all the rain. And you want to have a bit of distance between the couple and that flash to pick up all the rain. But yeah, what we've just described today is like the exact same stuff for backlit rain. Time for some troubleshooting. If the couple moves around a lot, as you can see in this example photo here, they're moving around all over the dance floor. You want to have the flash at a certain power so that if the flash does shine between them, as you can see here, you can see the actual flash. You don't want the flash to be so overpowering that all you see is a big bright white light. So you don't want your flash too bright. And if it's not too bright, if you set it up nicely, then the couple should be able to move around the dance floor without that flash overpowering it, so you can have the flash showing between them.
If the couple doesn't dance where you expected, you can move around, or you can move the flash around, so get different guests to hold it, or change your orientation relative to the flash. And I would also add to that, just try and be loose with it. So what you often find with first dances is that they're really unpredictable. You never know where anyone's going to be. So just build that into your expectations for it.
What if the guest doesn't point the flash correctly or tucks it under their arm? We've talked about this, so just run around, remind them of how to hold it, or just grab the flash off them and put it on a table, because now everyone's settled in their position. You can maybe put it on a table and no one will get in the way, or maybe give it to somebody else, or just take it off them, turn it off, and just use the on-camera flash.
If someone's blocking the flash, you can run over there and move it, or you can ask them to move.
Yeah, so be like, get out of the way, you're blocking this flash. And they'll be like, oh. You can also just forget about the off-camera flash if it's being blocked and just increase your bounce flash power and just use that. So that's totally okay just to use the bounce flash. If your off-camera flash is too bright and it's the middle of the first dance and you can't change it because your flash doesn't allow you to do so and you haven't got time to run over there and change it, then just make sure the couple always blocks the light. So move yourself, if you can, just so that they are room lit rather than seeing the flash like you can see in this picture. That should help that problem.
And if stuff isn't bright enough, just increase the power on your flash to add more light. And if you've got the opposite problem and the backlight isn't bright enough, just rely on that bounce flash power.
Yeah, so if it's really dark in the room and you can't brighten that back flash, the one behind the couple, just increase the power on your bounce flash just to light them from the front. And that is how we do our first dance. We don't always do backlit flash. We sometimes just do bounce flash on the camera. Depends how creative we're feeling. It depends how long the first dance is, depends on the room. But we often like to put one flash behind the couple. We have tried doing two flashes once before, and it was really hit and miss as to which photos we could use. And if they moved around the room, it was even more hit and miss because they'd be nearer one flash than the other. So we find one flash behind the couple the absolute sweet spot in doing first dance photos.